Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 885. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2023. Can you believe it? We can't because we're recording this bit in 2022. But rest assured, you'll be hearing this in 2023. On New Year's Day of this day, which is the anniversary of a lot of broadcasts and stuff like that. But not of Knock Knock, the Peter Capaldi Series 10 episode, for which we recorded a commentary and which you'll hear on this very episode, which will take up most of it, because we're pre-recording this, folks. If there was any big news that happened between December 27th and December 31st, you would have already heard it because it would have gone out before the opening titles. So if nothing happened of note, then be happy in a less than eventful week. Am I right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
We'll go with that. So what we're going to do today is, before the commentary, well, I mean, there's still the time lapse. There's still, even if nothing happened in the past week, or a little less than in Doctor Who, at least it did happen in the past, in the time lapse. So we'll run that down, because January 1st is a fairly big day in Doctor Who history, don't you know? It was the birth of Dave Martin, one half of the Bristol Boys. He was born in 1935. So that's something. It saw the broadcast of the very first New Year's Day special, which is episode 8 of the Daleks Master Plan, Volcano.
I was waiting for that twist.
Went out on New Year's Day, 1960. Nobody ever talks about that. Everyone always talks about Feast of Stephen. They actually did reference New Year's Eve in the episode, though, because I think it shows up. The TARDIS sort of drops in very briefly on New Year's Eve, and then it lands at a cricket match or something like that. And, for all the people that remember the Daleks Master Plan on its one and only broadcast on January 1st, 1966. So, yeah.
One thing that didn't happen was nothing happened in 2010.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. You know what? I remember that. I remember, first off, the day the Daleks premiered on January 1st in 1972 in Face of Evil, but no one cares about those. The End of Time Part 2, David Tennant's time as Doctor Who for now ended on that day. And I remember our recording, I think I gave it a positive review, and I think I equate that to some sort of Stockholm Syndrome, looking back at it.
I can't... Oh, yeah, you did, because you hated the first part.
Hated! I was so angry, Warren, at the part one, and I thought the last 10 minutes of part 2 were like, okay, I can see this, and maybe it left me with a better taste in my mouth. But now, looking back, no, I shouldn't have done that. I should have stuck with my gut and hated the entire thing outright. But
I think we've more than made up for it since.
I guess so. Yeah, we did vote it out in the Doctor Who Holiday Special Deathmatch. After all, it was first seed, and we just completely trounced it. As I would have been hilarious if someone had voted for that in that.
I mean, it could have been up against Timelash. Timelash, because we're doing the Timelash.
Yeah,
and it still would have lost.
It still would have lost. I mean, I would. Yeah, I don't think I would put any other episode up against it. So you know what? I'm going to give it to the End of Time. No, I don't think there's a single one. That makes it our least favorite Doctor Who episode of all time.
Well, as you say, it's I don't think a single Doctor Who story has ever made us just so angry
yeah.
at the show.
Yeah. Oh, well, thankfully that it was so unpopular as a New Year's Day episode that they stopped broadcasting episodes on New Year's Day for 9 years after that.
You tell yourself that.
Until Chris Chibnall thought, you know what's a better day than Christmas Day to get all the eyeballs on the screen? It's New Year's Day. Everyone watches TV on New Year's Day. No one watches TV on New Year's Day. But Doctor Who aired 4 straight New Year's Days. 2019 Resolution, 2020 Spyfall kicked off Series 12. Revolution of the Daleks happened on 2021. And then Eve of the Daleks. You know what? I mean, I like Spyfall, but I quite liked Eve of the Daleks. We're dragging up the holiday special death match a little bit here again. But I liked Eve of the Daleks. That was a good one, 2022. But we might never see another New Year's Day special again. Who knows?
I would bet not during the RTD era, for sure. Unless he does a 2-parter like he did with End of Time.
That's true. Well, I hope he learned his lesson, because those are the worst 2 Doctor Who episodes ever made, so...
As far as he's concerned, that's not the case. So yeah. I'm not sure he would say there's a lesson to be learned.
Probably not.
Yeah, he's... You don't come back victoriously to this show and learn lessons.
Yeah.
Having said that, he's developed as an artist and a writer in a bunch of other ways since he left in the first place. So I'll be interested to see how that informs this stuff.
Yeah. I was supposed to say that's the end of the Russell T Davies era, the original era, of course, as well. Man, 13 years separate that.
The original, you might say.
The original, you might say. Think about that. I mean, it was Barry Letts was executive producer of season 18. But even that was only 9 years after he had left, or 9 seasons. So it was like 8 years after he left Doctor Who behind with the Pertwee era. This is even longer for someone to come back to Doctor Who. So going to be quite interesting. January 2nd, happy birthday to the late Deborah Watling, born on January 2nd, 1948. The debut broadcast of The Rescue Episode 1, The Powerful Enemy, happened on BBC One. I think it got like 86 million viewers because everyone was still hoping for Daleks from the week before. There were no Daleks.
We got 12 million.
There were no Daleks. There's a lot of people.
13 million for Episode 2, but we're not there yet.
Oh, really? Wow. So I actually got more. So people says, oh, there are no Daleks in here. Let's tune in and see how this new girl turns out. I wonder what mystery will be solved with Coquitlam. Who will be the mysterious Coquitlam?
Get a hold of Coquitlam.
Yep.
And also, having been to Coquitlam, they should call it the underwhelming enemy.
kind of was.
No. Going to Coquitlam probably does require a rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
It does. Coquitlam is a suburb of Vancouver, everyone, for those not in Canada.
Not very exciting.
Not very exciting, no.
1971, though, Terror of the Autons, Episode 1. The introduction of El Master.
Them there mastered. Yeah, that's right. January 2nd. How about that? That's pretty exciting, isn't it? I think it's exciting. Not half as exciting as what happened 3 years prior to that, where Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln were commissioned to provide a storyline for the Dominators. And then they made it. So probably started well in their minds, but things take a bit of a turn, I guess. Well, let's look on January 3rd, a much busier day in Doctor Who history. Happy birthday, Richard Martin, also born in 1935.
Your favorite director.
My favorite director of Doctor Who. Born January 3rd, 1935. Richard Martin. Yeah. I wonder if that was the episode of the Daleks that he was working on, because he directed some of the episodes of the Daleks, but not all of them. I can't remember which episodes he directed and which was being made on January 3rd, 1964, but they were shooting that, though, right there. Anything else that happened on that day, January 3rd, in history, leap out at you? I remember a certain thing later on down the list, but if anybody else has anything
I think you remember this. Same thing I do with the resurrection of the Daleks thing. So you could speak to that maybe.
It actually wasn't, Warren.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It wasn't at all, no. I'll tell you what my thing was. It's January 3rd, 2009 was a special edition of Doctor Who Confidential in which they announced Matt Smith as the new Doctor Who, as the 11th Doctor. 2009 they announced that, a full 363 days before you would see him on screen on The End of Time Part 2.
Obama wasn't technically even president yet.
No.
Like, barely, but still.
I know, yeah. That Matt Smith was Dr. Designate, I think. Or I think it was Designate. It wasn't Dr. Elect.
Dr. Elect,
yeah.
yes.
Well, Dr. Elect is an American presidential system, keeping in line with the constitutional monarchy that was in the UK. We'll call him Dr. Designate.
Don't forget the president-elect who got killed during the Sound of Drums, which always makes me laugh.
The president-elect. Someone didn't quite know how presidents works. President-elect.
1979, Philip Hinchcliffe comes back to write for the show and gets rejected.
Yeah. Had a storyline called Valley of the Lost, which he submitted to Graham Williams. Maybe that would have been John Nathan Turner at the time. I can't remember where that was for, but turned down.
Planned for season 17, so Williams. The Doctor and Romana travel to the jungles of Brazil.
A set.
I wonder if he sort of like Philip Hinchcliffe says, did we keep that set we made for Planet of Evil? And if so,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Got a good story we could do on that, but maybe they didn't. And they thought, I tell you what, I had all the money in the world, but you don't, Eddie Graham Williams. What if we did location shooting in Brazil? Could we do that? Graham Williams said no. He said no on that one. Anyway, anything else on January 3rd?
Just the scheduling minutia, turning Resurrection of the Daleks into something for the next season. Just because of bureaucratic intransigence. That's why that happened.
Oh, yeah, I know, because of all the strikes happened. Yeah, January 3rd, it was decided to curtail season 20 to just 22 episodes because the last story was going to be The Return, which eventually became Resurrection of the Daleks. But people, we never sort of look at it. Wow, there was a canceled story in Doctor Who, kind of like Shada was, but at least they came back to make that one. So yeah, I wonder how the script would have been there. I don't think Tegan would have left. Although I suppose Tegan's leaving is kind of stapled on anyway at the end of Resurrection of the Daleks.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
But I'd be curious to see what the original script was like and how different it was when it was finally made as Resurrection. But perhaps we'll never know. Who knows? Maybe once we see the season 21 box set. Maybe it's already been on a DVD documentary and I can't remember it. But interesting anyway. All right. Well, let's move on. January 4th. Happy birthday, Terry Malloy, born January 4th, 1947. Of course, the one who has played Davros the most across TV and Big Finish.
I was going to say, if you're counting Big Finish, yeah, for sure.
Well, I think Michael Wisher was only there for one, and David Gooderson was only there, and then Julian Bleach has been there.
What, 2, 3?
Only 2, I think, because he did...
Yeah, I think you're right.
Stolen Earth, and then he did Magician's Apprentice, and so that's it.
Yeah. Where Michael Wisher did a lot of stuff that wasn't Davros. But
that's true. But he only did Davros the one time. Yep. Anything jumping out at you?
Yes.
Yo, what do you got?
1967, William M's The Imp is rejected. The reason it jumps out to me is I wonder just how problematic it was. And I think the answer is probably very, and I bet you it wasn't rejected for that reason.
No.
Even though I have no idea. I've never read anything about it, but it's just like The Imps, it lends itself to some bad news.
The Imps was rushed into production when it was decided that the underwater menace could not be suitably realized on Doctor Who's budget.
Or vice versa, I think, wasn't it?
No.
Really?
That's what it says.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what did the Imps become?
Nothing. I think they eventually just had to go with the underwater menace.
I guess so,
because they didn't have anything. Yep.
They just resurrected the underwater menace.
Yeah, they did, and they had no choice. So because they were literally week to week at that point. So we got to put something to camera. Yep. Good thing we have 2 of the 4 episodes of that. That's awesome. And thus closes William M's level of Doctor Who participation after having written Galaxy 4 the year before. Just a year 2 before. That's right, 65. Yeah.
1982. Welcome Peter Davison to the fold.
Peter Davison, yeah. Debut broadcast of Castrovalva episode 1. How about that? I love Castrovalva still to this day. Even maybe not as much as I did when I first saw it, because when I was a kid, it was like, wow, we get to see inside the TARDIS, man. It's like all TARDIS.
I still love that stuff. It's all the village stuff. I couldn't care less about.
Oh.
Did you have confusing feelings about Adric being tied up in the web?
I didn't. No.
I wasn't confused at all. Thank you.
I didn't.
Take that as however you like.
I know what you're getting at, Chris. I hear that, but no, I did not have confusing feelings at all. or any of the natives of Castrovalva. Maybe a little bit for Chardevan, but not quite.
I mean, Chardevan had a really nice hat.
They all had great hats.
That is a hell of a hat.
Yeah, there is a lot of the hat budget. I can't remember who did the costumes for Castrovalva, but the hats were great. Might have been Pat Godfrey. I don't remember. What else happened January 4th? Anything jumps out at you at all? I actually, you know what? I might have a thing because recording of The Empty Child, The Doctor Dances takes place in Wales. I don't think we mentioned that yesterday. I think they resumed filming. And I remember that because on the Doctor Who Confidential for The Empty Child, Doctor Dances, they had a clip of Eccleston walking, around the table because the dinner table and the kids are there and stuff. And one of the kids was asking, "Hey, are you Doctor Who?" And he says, "I am. For now, I am." I remember that they included that bit in the Confidential. And everyone, it set tongues wagging and reading Russell T Davies' book, The Writer's Tale, when they were talking about how wretched of a Christmas they were having that year in 2005 or 2004 into 2005. It was like the worst Christmas ever, and they wouldn't really say why. And I think probably because Eccleston was going through the worst of his time and had probably decided he wasn't coming back, and they were sort of having to deal with that. So something happened over the Christmas of 2004, which was not very good for the people making Doctor Who.
Odile, Dix Moreau did the costumes for Castrovalva as well as the Visitation.
There we are.
And she was interviewed about the Visitation on the documentary for that one.
Nice. Love that name, by the way. Both directed by Fiona Cumming, who died on January 1st, 2015, as I recall. So we moved past that. But yeah. She never directed Visitation. Peter Moffat did. No, I am sorry. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else about January 4th jump out at you at all?
There's a hell of a lot of recording happening. That's about it.
Yeah, they're making Doctor Who. Making a lot of Doctor Who during the coldest part of the year. That's when they were doing. Well done, BBC.
Only if you look at the Timelash does this make any sense, but when they talk again about the return, they have a picture of Lytton, and he looks like he's going to kill anybody who gets involved in this. He's just like, how dare, industrial action, not on my watch. I'm Lytton.
I'm Lytton in my new spin-off cop show, starring me,
Exactly.
Lytton. Yeah, canceled, dude.
Union Buster Lytton.
Mm-hmm. Bet you probably was, too. Not Maurice Colburn. He was a very nice man from all accounts. On to January 5th. What happened January 5th? Well, they, for some reason, they decided to continue making The Web Planet at Ealing Film Studios. They thought this will go fine. Speaking of Richard Martin, he's doing that. So, anything else? Anything jump out at you on January 5th?
1978, Ted Lewis
Right.
commissioned to provide a storyline for Shield of Zarak, which was apparently supposed to be the fourth story for the Key to Time season, where the Doctor and Romana encounter Robin Hood.
That's funny in a way, because the Andro Zatara, which eventually replaced that, was sort of like a medieval fantasy kind of thing. And isn't there like a character called, what's the name of the sword man? Is he called Zarak? I think he's called Zarak, isn't he? Did they just take the name from there? So let's just call him Zarak. There's a hat tipped to Ted Lewis. Whoever that is. Ted Lewis is probably like a renowned science fiction author, but since he didn't write for Doctor Who, I have no idea who he is, but
he wrote a novel called Jack's Return Home, which was filmed as Get Carter, the Michael Caine film.
Wow. It's very popular. Not the Sylvester Stallone version that came 30 years after, I'm assuming.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
Caine is rightfully, I haven't seen the movie, but apparently Caine's performance is fantastic in it.
Well, he's Michael Caine, for God's sake. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
Muppet
Christmas Carol, Michael Caine, you say?
Yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol, Michael Caine. Yes, the iconic Michael Caine.
I'd like to point out 1970. Carol and John contracted for 2 serials beginning with The Ambassadors of Death, but Barry Letts is unhappy with the character and ultimately decides to replace her for Series 8. I am here on Team Liz Shaw supremacy. You are wrong. Barry Letts, you're a genius in so many ways, but this is not one of them.
Very much wrong. Yep, loved it. Loved the whole approach that Barry Letts had nothing to do with setting up, but so let's change it to something less offensive. That's just why I've never...
Then a woman scientist, what? How?
I know.
How could that possibly happen?
She knows too many things. Yeah. Caroline John also was pregnant towards the end, and so was going to leave anyway, but that's neither here nor there. Damn it. Love season 7 to bits. This all was happening during the recording of Doctor Who and the Silurians, too, at TV Center at the same time. So things were afoot.
In 1983, Robin Squire commissioned to provide a storyline for Ghost Planet. Robin Squire was the assistant script editor in late 1969, apparently.
Was he really? Robin Squire? Really? I didn't know
That's
that.
what it says here.
Oh.
That's what it says here. And it would have been a fifth or sixth Doctor story in season 21 or 22.
Wow. I knew of Trevor Ray, but I guess maybe I didn't know about Robin Squire or had forgotten. Well.
He was commissioned to write full scripts, but doesn't say if he ever actually delivered.
Interesting. So many.
One of the greatest moments in the show's history.
Yeah.
1985 debut broadcast of Attack of the Cybermen.
I think you, me, and Liz Miles are the only ones that can sort of say that.
That's about
hello.
Confident. Oh, we got a third
That's true.
Attack
You
of
are
the
a
Cybermen.
cybermenicist.
Yeah. You're a cyber stan, are you? Of Attack of the Cybermen?
Attackist, I guess.
Yeah. First, of course, in its 45-minute format, back on Saturdays. Was it back on Saturdays, or was it still weeknights? I can't remember now. I think it was weeknights.
To this
still.
day,
It says right there, Saturdays. So
there it is. Duh.
I'm
to this
assuming
day, those
Saturdays.
don't feel right. They just don't feel right.
No, like Castrovalva. Although it was a ratings winner at first, where the Doctor Who on weekdays. But it feels odd. Can you imagine if we were doing this podcast in 1982 through 1984, and they were like doing 2 episodes a week? Like, how would we have done that? I wonder.
Well, I meant more the 45-minute format than anything else. It just doesn't feel like it fits. Even though that's what the show is now.
I know.
But in 82 to 84, how would we do this podcast? Would we be sending it via 1200 baud modems? Would it be a telegram, in fact?
I know. We'd just be sending cassettes back and forth to each other.
Exactly. It'd be a tape trading. It'd be tapes. There were tape zines, so theoretically, I guess those kind of were podcasts.
Yeah, could have done it. Just recorded our own phone calls or something like that, Or gotten together and recorded around a cheap tape deck. We were like 7 at the time. We wouldn't have done that, but still.
This is slightly off to the side, but I was reading a thing about these guys in Britain, and what they would do is this is in the early days of home computers. They would just play that scratchy crap that you would use on a cassette tape to load into it. You could record that off the air and then load programs into your computer. I'm not making this up. There's like some show at like 2 a.m. or something. Right. That's how they were able to get away with this. But yeah, they had an computer enthusiast show where they would give away programs on the air because they were audio, right? So
wow. Man, the early days of computers, I tell you. What a wild west that place was. Happy birthday, Mandip Gill, by the way, born January 5th, 1988. What are you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, it doesn't sound greatly different from the early phone freaking days as well. It's using the whistles that came in boxes of Captain Crunch to hack the phone system.
Wow. Don't
remember
that.
Real thing.
To defraud the phone system.
Yeah, I didn't know about
More of a
that.
70s thing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to point out also that January 5th saw the broadcast of Spyfall episode 2. I mentioned when Doctor Who was doing 2 episodes a week. This was the first time that there were 2 Doctor Who episodes within a space of a week since like 1984. It was. And I think people were making a thing of it, going, oh my God, like 5 days of 2 Doctor Who episodes. It's like 1983 all over again. So there. That was when the COVID-19 coronavirus was just really getting its foot in the door.
That was a fad.
In West Asia, I think, at that time, before it had sort of moved across the globe in record fashion. So heady days watching the ending of Series 12 loom towards us as the pandemic was beginning to roar. January 6th. Nothing at all of any consequence in history happened on January 6th, so I guess we'll try to find some Doctor Who to talk about. Yeah. Anything else? Anything jump on?
Morris Farhi, 1964, proposes the fragile yellow arc of fragrance, which was apparently a Barbara story.
Interesting.
Which got adapted by Big Finish in 2010.
I thought the name sounded familiar. Yeah. It's for some reason, just because it comes from 1964, it sounds racist, but I don't know if it is. But I'm happy to be proven wrong there. Adapted by Big Finish, you say? That's a shock. the debut broadcast of The Enemy of the World, episode 3, happened. I alluded to this last week because it's the first time in Doctor Who history that it was broadcast in 625 Lions resolution, which lasted until Christmas Day 2008 with the next Doctor.
Utter madness.
Yep. Even though obviously it was widescreen by then, but still.
And was 3 not the one we had forever until?
It was.
Morris?
Yeah, we had the first. Yeah, we had, and so we were always wondering if they had made the first two as 420, 475, 425, 425, and no, that was not the case. Not the case at all. Anything else? January 6th, Doctor Who wise, leap out at you.
He's gonna say it's really tough not to think of a certain event on that day.
That's all. Yeah.
Colin Baker rips a new one and rips Michael Gray a new one apparently in The Sun.
Oh yeah,
1987.
I remember hearing about not at the time, but yeah, when he did a big tell-all thing. Didn't Eric Sayward also had a big thing in a newspaper or a sci-fi magazine, like in November of '86, I think, too, going off against John Nathan Turner and everyone else. So yeah, I remember that. I remember Colin Baker sort of set the record straight as well in that Mythmakers video that was put out in 1989, which might have been his first time that he talked about it, given that the internet wasn't a thing. And because I remember KSPS got that one. Remember that, Chris and Warren?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vaguely, yeah. I also vaguely have to be reminded that Mythmakers existed. I don't know why, but I do. Yeah,
I think it was the only one they got was the Colin Baker one, but they aired it, and yeah, I taped it, and I lost it somewhere. I don't know, got rid of my tapes, but I'm sure it's on DVD. I can get it again if I want, but.
And then, of course, 1984, Warriors of the Deep, episode 1 debuts, and of course, no one ever said a bad word about that.
No one at all. Least of all, Michael Gray, who got lambasted in The Sun 3 years after the fact, took a look at this and said, "What are we showing on BBC One?"
Sea Devil's not in the least bit underwhelming for the second time of 3.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Which is too bad because they're good boys.
Yeah, I like them. I like Sea Devils. You know, they looked great in the Legend of the Sea Devils. I'll give them that. Looked pretty good. Better than they did here. Let's move on then. Last day of this here Timelash, the busy day of January 7th. A lot of recordings happened in the modern series. A lot of recordings happened in the classic series. The
1969, though.
Yeah.
Patrick Troughton's departure is announced to the press.
How about that? January 7th. So about 6 months notice of a new Doctor, and I don't think they had cast a new one.
Press.
Yeah. I can't remember when they cast. They announced the casting of Pert. I think June 17th. I want to say, which is 4 days before War Games episode 10 aired. But Troughton had long since been gone because he did all this pre-filming before then. But yeah, interesting days when they announce things on the press and stuff. Like I'm trying to think of like how they mentioned other Doctor departures since then. And actually they've been kind of low key to be honest. They've been like little tweet threads or Twitter releases and no real there's no TV special to say, by the way, this Doctor is leaving, Mm-hmm. They're all kind of low key events, but there. Special.
Also,
yeah,
I was to say also low key 1978 Underworld episode 1.
The greatest episode of Underworld.
So
I think we can confirm that.
I was going to mention
it's an amazing episode of TV.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah.
I was going to mention again. I'm sorry to make this visual, but the thumbnail looks like Tilda Swinton snuck into Underworld. It's very strange.
Imogen Bickford Smith there in her old age Tala makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, but at first glance, I'm like, is that Tilda Swinton? What the hell is she doing here?
It's not Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton was not in Doctor Who, Warren, in 1978. I think I can confirm that.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
Yeah. Also, big thing on January 7th, 1967, debut broadcast of the Highlanders episode 4, which means Jamie walks into the TARDIS at the end and off into Doctor Who history, never to leave again. Fraser Hines goes on.
Not once. Not one line.
No, be like 132 episodes after that is the longest running companion in Doctor Who history. So, or at least a number of episodes anyway. He's in the most number of episodes, certainly. But
yeah, there's a Guinness Book of World Records that says otherwise. So.
Yeah, the gap between, yeah. All right, that was it. That was the week that was in history, and indeed the week that was in Doctor Who. We've had a nice trailer for the 60th anniversary to tide us over and stuff, so we don't need too much more anyway. So all we have left now is a commentary, a modern series commentary, because we've thrown Peter Capaldi's Series 10 episodes into the randomizer, and we have one for you now. So after the break, it's our commentary for the Series 10 episode, Knock Knock.
Are the microphones wired in?
All round the condenser, most merciful. We're looking forward to excellent duodecaphonic sound.
This is the moment when I get a real feeling of job satisfaction.
Welcome back. It's the first entry ever in our Doctor Who modern series commentaries, I guess, since we threw the last season of Peter Capaldi, and I think most of season 2, David Tennant's series 2, into the randomizers. This is the first time it's actually come up that we're doing a modern Doctor Who story.
Per the Blu-ray rules, it's David Tennant season 1.
Is it? It still is.
Let's
isn't
disregard those rules.
Yeah, we don't have such a set for the Peter Capaldi run. Alas, a nice tightly packed one that could fit really nicely on a shelf, but we'll have to make do.
I got given as a gift for Christmas the other year the complete Peter Capaldi Blu-ray set, and no, it does not fit on the shelf.
Giant. It's giant. Yeah,
huge.
Don't want it.
It's in some ways it's worse than the British season 1 TARDIS. New Who box set.
Thing was massive. Anyway, we're here to talk about.
At least it was the height of a normal DVD stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
Knock Knock is the story in question. Series 10, Episode 4, the last series of the Stephen Moffat era. We'll be watching that today off of our Region A. What is it called? It's something different in Blu-ray land than it is in DV land. But the
letters,
the North American version, Region A, or is it B? I don't know. Version of this. We'll watch it, and will be. This commentary is being recorded in binaural audio. It's not, so you will not pay. You will not be able to experience that as well. So anyway, we assume you've gotten your North American copies of this one all queued up and everything. Good. Because here we go, folks. It is Doctor Who, Knock Knock, in 3, 2, 1, play. There's the logo.
So am I alone in thinking they missed a trick by not having the next episode be called Who's There?
Possibly. I like that the episode starts with a knock knock. That was kind of fun. I mean, you know.
You were all doomed, every last one of you.
Yeah.
It's a little too on the nose, but
true. Usually I like to pre-watch things when it comes to commentaries and stuff. I didn't do that for this. I probably haven't seen this since 2017, right?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So this is mildly unfamiliar to, even though I'm a big fan of the era and stuff. I've said this often on the show. Basically, when you're reviewing these episodes for podcast purposes, you kind of watch them, you live in them, you bathe in them for like a day or two, and then it's sort of out the door, and you're on to the next one, and then you kind of forget about it, and that's kind of where I'm at. But
I love that Bill's carrying on the long tradition of weird off-brand logos on T-shirts and other such shirts with fries, just generic fries, just like Punky Fish and all the other weird stuff that shows up. Maybe that's an actual thing in Britain I don't know about, or was.
Maybe it's a Aqua Teen Hunger Force reference or something.
I doubt it.
My name
Not everybody bathes in Adult Swim, just you, Chris.
Sheikh Zula, the Mike Rula, the old school. I like that.
Can you look at this tweet and say you believe in a God?
I am 30 or 40 years old, and I do not need this.
I know it's probably very problematic, but I do love Master Shake. And interviewed the guy who did his voice.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Very Comic-Con in 2008 when it was still.
Oh my God, that's
going concern.
Yeah,
he was a very guy in the theater. Let's put it that way. Nice guy, but definitely a guy in the theater.
Is that code? Are you?
No, it's not code for what you think it is. I mean, just like a very actor-y actor.
Very on.
Like John Lovitz's actor character on SNL kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah, but not unpleasantly so.
Mm-hmm. Wicked. Obviously a reference to Ace.
As this goes out, Ace, who made her return in Jodie Whittaker's final story that we have yet to see as this is recorded.
I don't know when this is going out, folks. It'll probably be quite a while. Our patrons will get it probably a few days from now after we record this. We're doing this in late August of 2022. We don't even know the name of Jodie Whittaker's final story, or indeed the official the announced broadcast date. Just so you know where we're at in history, we have no. You're laughing at us right now. We have no idea what's going on. No clue.
Mm-hmm. I just want to point out that if these youths had to spend all their money on avocado toast, they could, and other use, they could get themselves a house that didn't eat them and turn them into wood things. I
know. It's funny that this weird old guy who's been stalking us in our search for a house seems to be perfectly on the level. Scooby-Doo gang, who we see for the first and last time. I don't think we see any of these kids again, do we?
To flip this around, maybe this is a good metaphor for the struggle of millennials and younger to find anywhere to live that isn't $1 zillion.
Yeah. Oh, that's the start of a Doctor Who episode right there.
I miss this opener.
The Ben Pickles graphics.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Ben Pickles.
Very good. Vancouver's own.
Yeah, he's probably
Britain's own by this point.
Yeah, he's probably 19 or 20 when he did this.
Oh yeah, if that. He may be younger actually.
Ridiculous childhood prodigy, yeah. And Matt Lucas isn't. I feel like he's not in this episode yet.
Yeah, I don't remember much of him being here.
Yeah.
Does he get conveniently pulled back into the TARDIS for some reason? I don't remember.
I don't know either.
Or is he just not in it and he's in this for contractual reasons on the credits?
Which show did Mike Bartlett write? He was a showrunner for something, and I don't remember which one it was. Chris is going to Google it.
Great question.
Yeah. Bill Anderson. Geez, that's another name that I don't know. Bill Anderson sounds like a name of someone who directed like the Celestial Toymaker or something. Like that's an old-timey name.
Poole Anderson's uncle.
Mm-hmm. That's clever. I do like that, materializing around it. That's...
Also, this will never get old, the fact that you don't have to cut away anymore with TARDIS stuff. Like, it just never gets old that they can do that now. I don't know why. I'm sure it's nothing to anybody under my age, but for us veterans.
Right? I mean, sometimes I watch like a live sporting event on my phone and I go, look what I'm doing. I can't believe this. And then, yeah.
Five episodes across 3 years, but Dr. Foster, is that the one?
Dr. Foster, that's the one I'm thinking of, I think, yeah. Oh, they're important. Although those are worn for ceremonial occasions, but everyone just picked up and thought they wore them all the time from the invasion of time onwards. So thus, the
only time we see them, they are wearing the damn thing. So I mean,
well, they wear them in like council meetings and like at coffee shops. Like, why are you wearing your collar out to the coffee shop on Ark of Infinity? Stop it.
That's just Ark of Infinity, though.
Yeah,
and it makes sense at the trial because it is a formal event. My favorite is still the floppy collars of the Genesis of the Daleks Time Lord before they really nailed it down. Like, I know. What is this guy? This Punch and Judy nonsense. Like, I love Genesis of the Daleks so much, but that part does start out with, all right, what's going on here with Floppy McFlopperson?
TARDIS. Boxes. I don't know about her packing. I mean, it's just like, who packs without a box on the top? It's going to fall out. I know this firsthand. Also, I am slightly jealous of Bill's remarkable lack of possessions. I say this in the midst of a room that has a closet full of hockey jerseys, a whole shelf full of 2 drum sets, and not in the room that contains a billion Lego sets. Sometimes I kind of wish I lived like Tom Baker in the mid-'70s and didn't have a home and just had a toothbrush in his pocket.
Possessions or poor life choices?
I thought you said possessions or poor life. For a second, I thought you said possession. I thought you said possessions are poor life choices at first. And,
wow. Okay.
So, I mean, some might say
Communist
that.
League is meeting right now.
All property is theft.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of books. And I'd like to call out friend of the show, Jen Clapp, who put a thing up on Instagram where she's, I've got Team of Rivals. It's time to remind myself I'm never going to read this and I should give it to the thrift store. And so I also have that, and I messaged her and said, yes, me too. And so I did. I marched it off to the thrift store. I'm
Well
like, I'm never
done.
reading this. Let's be honest here. I bought it because Obama read it, and I have yet to read it. And Doris Kearns Goodwin, who's the author, is great. Whenever she's on a podcast, I'm like, oh, great. She's interesting things to say. But I'm never going to read that book. I'm just not. So...
What's the author's
Why
name
am I
again?
holding
Sorry,
onto it? Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's a noted historian.
I know of her because she was on Ken Burns' Baseball. So
There you go.
there you are. That's how you lure me in. Ken Burns documentaries about baseball. Grandfather, that's funny.
I love all the ageist nonsense here. It's all very entertaining.
Underrated duo, PCap and
I quite
PMAC.
agree.
Yeah.
She deserved better overall. More than one season, more than her crap ending.
Mm-hmm. But here, that's a ways away. This is the first half of where they're really establishing, like, Doctor Who's it's just this brand new show now, and with the pilot and everything, and then it's sort of like it's a little heavier and towards the second half, as I recall, in an era that I very much adore and yet have not watched nearly enough of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand.
Some nice camera work there with the overhead shot.
Bill Anderson. And because they're so good at disguising sets now and like lighting studio and filming on location, it's tougher to tell. They should go back to film for location and videotape for studio so that people like me can clearly differentiate which is which.
Why isn't this show catering exclusively to me and my archaic tastes?
Because that's a CG shot, probably, that tower, that brief look at the tower, because there's no tower there. Probably augmented the house. Wasn't Sarah Jane Smith's house augmented with a loft or something whenever they did in Long Shot?
Maybe.
The Sarah Jane
yeah.
Adventures, yeah.
I always just look at this, and just as a Canadian who grew up in a city that's, how old's Edmonton? 100 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I see a castle next to something, I'm like, come on.
Oh,
Even though I'm sure that happens all the time in England.
Yeah.
Or anywhere else in Europe, for that matter.
Like, I mean, the building I live in is built in 1965, and I feel like that is probably, like, when it was built, like, this city was tiny.
That's oozing with history, that one.
Mm-hmm. 1965. Yet there
Is
are
this
no...
the first appearance of her mom? Like, I don't remember where the Monk trilogy is. I think it's after this.
It's after this. This is episode 4 of the season. Oh, man. I am so bad. I need to watch more Peter Capaldi, obviously, which is never a bad thing. But yeah, I don't, I'm trying to think of when, I don't think we saw much of her in Smile, Thin Ice. I don't think but then there's these like little flashbacks and stuff. I don't think we saw her in the flesh, so to speak, until the Monk trilogy, when Bill was sort of like having coffee with her.
Yeah, but this seems like set up for that in a way.
It does, yeah. Ooh. This must have gone out like Halloween, I think, probably, right? Close to? With a binaural soundtrack?
I think so. That sounds about right. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds right.
I don't even have the Wikipedia. I do have the Wikipedia page open. Why don't I just click the link?
I thought Pearl Mackie had just announced that she was getting married, but that was in January, apparently, because I just Googled it.
Oh, yeah, I know. I hate it when my Doctor Who Google alerts sort of cycle back old news. May 6th, 2017 this aired, so no,
So
not
close to
Halloween.
So close to Halloween.
Yeah.
Every day can be Halloween if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, we're in the era where we probably could have been told about it the prior Halloween versus Flux, where the BBC versus Flux, where the BBC didn't want to talk about the Halloween episode going out on Halloween.
That's true.
Because it's Halloween.
Yeah. Johnny Morris on Twitter, who's written a fair few things about Doctor Who, for Doctor Who magazine, a big finish over the years, reposted the tweet that announced that Stephen Fry and Lenny Henry were going to be in the first episode of Doctor Who, and he's laughing at it because all it was basically Stephen Fry standing there, and they flip on a light switch. Then they just sort of stands there, like just waiting for the camera to go off of it. And then they do the same thing for Lenny Henry, and that was it. And that was the announcement.
Well, it kind of echoes the amount of time that Fry spent in the episode.
Pretty much.
At least Lenny Henry had a little more screen time.
I mean, they did it.
And they built that up, and it turned into nothing. He was just a villain there. And unless he miraculously shows up in the Centenary special, which I pretty much doubt. But
then we get Series 10, which is let's face it, I like it, but it's also kind of, Stephen Moffat was thinking he was done with Husbands of River Song, and then they said, actually, you're not. Our preferred guy to take over from you, one Chris Chimble, is delayed on season 3 of Broadchurch. So can you write another season?
You got some pretty excellent stuff out of that, though.
Yeah. What's that, Chris? What are you saying?
They JNT'd him.
They kind of did JNT him. They persuaded him to stay. Yeah.
Persuaded.
So this, because I think there was a hunt for a one-off showrunner from what I understand, that either Peter Harness or Toby Whithouse were sort of in the running, and then they said, we'll just bring Steve Moffat back. He seems to know what he's doing, knows what the passwords to the computers are. We'll just have him do it.
I mean, the continuity, I'm sure, has a lot of advantages.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means I might have to pay him more.
Sorry, the line for a man such as myself, discretion is second nature. That is a big neon sign saying creeper right there.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a groomer.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's enough of that.
Did either of you ever, you grew up on PBS. Did you ever watch Poirot, or as I know it, Poirot? No? Okay.
I remember, I didn't watch it, but I remember them plugging it one hell of a lot on KSBS.
Yeah.
Because it was very popular, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, many years ago, when I was living in London, I went and saw a play. I think it was at the Young Vic with him and Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, David Suchet and Richard Dreyfuss. Yeah.
The thing is, I never watched Poirot on PBS, but anytime I see a different Poirot, I'm like, that's not right.
That's not the real one. How can you do this? Yeah.
So, which is ridiculous. It's like, that's not the one I grew up with and never paid attention to.
You must have problems with James Bond then. Or Doctor Who.
Yeah, whenever I don't see Roger Moore, I think it's wrong.
I know. Like, what is wrong? Who is this interloper here?
It's like when you see anyone that's not Sylvester McCoy, you're like, this can't be right.
No.
I'm going to ignore that. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's got the Wikipedia page open in the background. Apparently, the house, I don't know if it's external or exterior or interior or what, but apparently the same house was used for Blink, for Western Drumlins.
Oh, okay.
For the exterior? Oh, interesting.
It just says the house was used in Blink as well.
Not the interior. I'm sure we're in studio right now. Michael Pickwoad, the late great Michael Pickwoad, having designed a nice modern but antiquated set.
Speaking of modern but antiquated, let's pour one out for that CRT right in the background behind him, which you're going to see right now. There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, CRT.
Basically, it's like watching Hyde, but it's like modern day, but it doesn't look modern day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hyde's got a great look to it. More episodes of Doctor Who, if they're going to go back in time, need to be set in like the 1970s, or if set in a house that hasn't been changed since the 1970s. Like this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just like CRT porn. I follow something called CRT Bot, which just sends me pictures of CRTs.
I don't hold such nostalgia to for old TVs.
I like how the hardware gets a pass. But,
yeah.
But in other minutia does not.
No, I know it's weird. I'm complicated. All right.
I might have a line on getting a CRT, and I will find a way to hook up to my Apple TV so I can watch Doctor Who as it was meant to be seen. Classic Doctor Who on a CRT.
That would be amazing.
And Sandbaggers on a CRT. That's the only stuff I'll watch on BritBox. Like, there's nothing else I can think of worth watching on it. I would even get a new Apple TV box just as my BritBox.
Hardwire it in there.
Just as BritBox and BritBox only SD.
How would it
CRTV.
react if you hooked up an Apple TV, if you could, or like a streaming thing or something to a? I'm thinking you'd probably only be able to do it with an Apple TV because you could HDMI to
There's
the
other ones you can do it with.
RCA
Yeah, you need
cables.
You need that in the HD. Yeah, exactly.
And how would it look? Would it be? I'm so fascinated. You got to do this, Warren. You got to do this now. You can't.
I always if and when I get this monitor, I will give it a try.
You can't not do it to see if it would be
Where my
letterboxed.
printer is now, so it's just sitting there underused.
Would it be letterboxed? Would they give me your phone? I love watching PCap do this. He's trying to be all like playing pop music for the kids. He's trying to get down at the kids. Oh, he's so great. He's so great. He says, of course I know it is. And the tiny little subtle look as he goes off screen. There's no cutaway to him looking confused. He sort of just sells it, even just by walking off screen.
Well, we all relate because
we do.
My knowledge of music goes to 2000 and no further, and 2000 is actually pushing it.
And with good cause. Today's music is terrible, Warren. So it's you're
no.
right.
I completely disagree. It's just not for me. That doesn't mean it's terrible.
No. Actually, I've seen the results from the lab, and they have confirmed new music is terrible.
The results from the lab from Codrico.
Yeah. Peter Capaldi is my favorite doctor. My absolute favorite.
For a while there, it was a quick succession of doctors, so I was wondering if you were, but no, you committed to the bit with Capaldi.
I did. I'm not disparaging Jodie Whittaker or anything. It's just like I miss Capaldi more than I miss any other of the doctors.
I miss the Moffat era. I really miss the Moffat era.
Me too.
It's by far my favorite era.
It's sung to me. It's sung to me personally. And as it goes on, I feel like did it just pander to me? Was I being pandered to when it came to this? And thus, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it.
There was a bit of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's not the only reason. Like, I just like the way he wrote, how witty everything is, how intricate it was. Like, and there's nothing. There's a few things wrong with Chibnall's era, and there's a few things wrong with Moffat's era. All the eras are something wrong with, and there will be with RTD2 as well. But just for whatever reason, everything clicked with this one for me.
It
personally.
did.
I'm not saying it's better or worse. It just clicked for me.
I think the general feel of it, I think, was closest to my. It felt like the Hinchcliffe era ish, but with more jokes. Well, there were jokes in the Hinchcliffe era too. I don't know what to think about it. Chris, where do you stand on this on the Moffat era? Try to rummage around for any feelings whatsoever that explain why it was so good.
Three?
Yeah, my two.
Far and away?
Far and away for me too.
I mean, there's some RTD bangers, and he did bring it back, and there's a bunch of good stuff there for different reasons. But
yeah, I mean, we're all on the record with our feelings for certain RTD era stuff.
Yeah,
but there's a few Moffat stinkers, to be fair, too. So
yeah,
well, absolutely. I mean, none of us are fans of Victory of the Daleks, for example.
No.
At least most of Victory of the Daleks. First quarter or third is okay, but yeah, I know.
Yeah, when it's ripping off evil, it's great, and then it goes down the dumper pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Warren, like the wittiness, like Moffat's wit is just so just perfect for Doctor Who.
Yeah. And it comes
so
through
precise and so quick.
Yeah, and it comes through all the ones that maybe he gave a brush to it to hear. Maybe he sort of said to Mike Bartlett, put this in, feel free to let loose on the jokes a little bit because it's Doctor Who. We can do this, Like I never know. The thing about Modern Who is I never know when the pen of the writer who was at Moffat ends and the script editor, so to speak, of Moffat begins. But
yeah,
and to be fair to sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was going to say you've got the flip side of that as well, where it's not exclusive to Moffat's era by any means, but Moffat can just say to a writer, "Okay, dinosaurs on a spaceship, go."
Yeah,
give me a script.
Yeah.
Which is definitely one of the lesser ones.
No, I thought it was great, actually.
I love it. I absolutely adore David Mitchell and Robert Webb, but they are the worst part of that episode.
They are, aren't they? It's weird, actually. Look, I mean, we just basically do a whole Moffat retrospective, but the actual when they brought actual comedians in to be funny, they were the least funny people in it. Like I remember of Bill.
Well, look at Peter Kay in Love and Monsters.
Yeah, too. But I'm just thinking in the Doctor with a Wardrobe. The people from Bill Bailey. I thought,
he's not, and he's funnier than hell in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, horribly unfunny. And I just thought he's usually funny, but when you try to bring funny people in a show that's already got his own little bit of humor, it just feels like it just completely clashes.
I mean, to be fair, people like Mitchell and Webb and Bill Bailey and Peter Kay, they're funny because they write their stuff.
That could be it.
Yeah,
they're funny because of who they are and what they do. They're other people writing for them, less funny apparently.
Yeah, that could be it.
And the thing is, Matt Lucas, I like Nardole, unlike a lot of people. But having said that, his funny stuff isn't as good as when he's kind of serious. To be honest.
I think some of the funny stuff comes in from Matt Lucas's own input, and it kind of feels like, maybe not. You know.
Well, there we go. Eaten by the door.
Yeah.
And this guy who's great. Now we're stuck here. Okay. Also, somebody got killed, but okay, whatever.
He doesn't quite realize that, though.
And I was going to be fair to Chibnall for a second. Like, there's some really good episodes that Chibnall did as well. So
mostly not written by Chibnall, but
sure, but still within his era, there's some good ones.
There are. Oh boy.
Also, I guarantee you, so RTD is going to stumble somewhere, and we'll all be like, "Remember when Chibnall did this better?" It's going to happen. I guarantee it'll happen.
Oh yeah. Well, as was said a few minutes ago, every era has got its problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's never not going to be the case.
And this is more a comment on us than it is on either era. It's just fans going, well, I selectively remembering this or that.
Yeah.
And nostalgia is a powerful drug.
Mm-hmm. And now, right now, we're in the throes of, come on, get on with it. So we're anti-nostalgia.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back of, they did a... I'm trying to think of the history of promoting the show at this point. Because, we're right now, folks, we're in the midst of Doctor Who not being promoted whatsoever, but waiting to be promoted once the RTD2 era begins.
This era has Comic-Cons and...
Yeah, there were Comic-Cons. I mean, I'm trying to think when the Lego Dimensions game came out, and that was the year before this, when they did the World Tour. Mm-hmm. They did a World Tour. What's that? Wait, I'm trying to think now.
Brazil, South Korea.
Yeah. That was for Peter Capaldi's first season, right? Yeah, they did a world tour for Peter Capaldi's first tour. And I don't remember what they did for his second and Jenna Coleman's last, but I don't think they did a world tour. But they did something promotional wise for each season.
Yeah, world tour was August 2014. So
2014,
Capaldi's first season.
I don't know what they did for his second, and then this, because let's face it, this is the first full series of Doctor Who since 2015. They took 2016 completely off, apart from Husbands. Husbands.
Yep. Hope is its own form of cruelty. I'm stealing that.
Wow, that's a good line. That is a good line.
Also, Stephen, I have to point out that Lego Dimensions coming out is a Hallmark event only to you for good reasons. But
speaking of pandering directly to anything,
I was so taken and absorbed with Dimensions.
Me too.
I mean,
right, well,
the whole the Lego element of it. I've always loved Lego Star Wars games and Lego games in general, but the addition of some of the properties, especially Doctor Who, just put me over the edge.
It's so
not
good.
To the degree of you, Stephen. I don't think, but
oh no, but God, I almost felt guilty. The amount of bang on references they got in that Lego Dimensions level, just like, oh, this is too much, right? I mean, I love it, but this is too much.
So do you have to buy the plastic toys that go with it for it to work?
He did.
Yeah.
Toys to Life, is that what it was called? Yes. Toys to Life, the whole genre, which came and went fairly quickly.
Because I'd love to play it, but I don't want to spend $1 million off eBay to do
Good
it.
luck. Good luck,
technically speaking, if you wanted to cheat the system, if you have an Android device or something that can program NFC chips, if you get the...
Okay,
if you get the
forget
code,
it.
A lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort, but there are ways to work to game the system.
That sounds like a typical nerd thing, and some other nerd is probably
you should have been suckered in to begin with, like I was.
I suppose.
Or you don't necessarily need the minifigs and stuff. People on eBay or whatever would sell just the discs that have the programmed NFC content.
This sounded like work. To hell with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't bother, Warren.
No, I'm not going to.
Don't bother.
Not that you can buy the sets now with any ease or cost effectiveness.
I think
No.
I'll stick with building my criminal empire in GTA. How about that?
There you go.
Much better waste of my time. Where's my GTA dimensions? Come on.
Ooh.
That's kind of a cool effect.
That is a cool effect,
These things look
actually.
pretty good.
Imagine that coming out of Paul Winfield's ear.
Insects are really, I don't know why, but CG and insects really go together well. Like when you watch Starship Troopers, that stuff still holds up, and that movie's almost 30 years old.
That looks pretty good, actually, yeah.
Yeah, 25, yeah.
I like his glee in this giant bug. I've never watched Starship Troopers.
Well, there's two
why
schools
does that
of thought.
not
One
surprise
school of
us?
thought loves it because it's very funny. If you've seen RoboCop, which you probably haven't,
I did.
it's the same. Okay, it's the same basic utter sarcasm and satire
Yeah.
and mockery amongst ultraviolence. And so, if you dig that, you'll dig Starship Troopers.
Ugh.
People who've read the book are like, this isn't like the book. I'm like, well, if you know about Robert Heinlein, that's not such a bad thing. The guy could write, but I tried getting through Stranger in a Strange Land. I got about 30 pages in. I'm like, this guy can string some sentences together, but if I see ray guns, toots, and in one more time, I'm out the door. And I did, so I'm out the door. It was very much of its time, and not in a fun way.
I like the blue lighting here.
I like it too,
I
yeah.
still distinctly remember one friend of mine who saw Starship Troopers before I did, remarking and absolutely adoring the fact that it was not an American staged movie. It was set in, was it Brazil?
Brazil, yeah. I mean, the world's so spread out with people that everybody's speaking English anyway, but...
Yeah.
Also, if you've ever wanted to see Doogie Howser's Joseph Mengele, this is the film for you.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Peter Capaldi admonishing a youngster, saying, they call dryads? Well, that's what I'm calling them. I can't call them lice, can I? And looks at him off. Good old
By the way,
PCap.
this castle looks more fake than that bug. So you think the castle would be a lot easier to fake.
Yeah. You're right. Bugs, especially, swarming bugs like they were coming out of the wood there earlier. It was quite creepy. And well done. It'd be tough to do it as a practical effect. How did they do practical effects with bugs, I wonder, back before CG?
Strings. That's basically what it was.
I guess so.
Wires, yeah.
And sounds.
I mean, like a whole
Sound sells a
swarm
lot.
of bugs, you know. Funny thing is that this looks a lot better than, I don't know, the giant ants and Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
And the groundhog or whatever it was.
Oh, God. That movie looks so dated. It's like, 2008? And the CG in that movie looks horrendously dated.
It's amazing how there's that, especially with video games, but definitely with movies too. Around 2000, it's like not quite good enough, but better than it was. You can give a free pass to all the 90s stuff because you're like, well, they were trying stuff out. It's all new at the time.
Yeah.
And they had limitations. Like Terminator 2 still looks good because it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Right?
'Cause they don't,
This
like-
thing is a big blob and it
Yeah.
does the things that blobs do, and it still works because of that.
They know they can't rely entirely on it, and so they have to choose their shots to use.
Exactly. And Jurassic Park's the same thing.
Jurassic Park,
Like,
yeah.
a lot of it's practical. And there's tons of practical effects in T2. There's a whole scene where when he transforms, and James Cameron says this in the commentary, they just pan to the wall and you hear the sound effect, you pan back. He's like, well, you don't need to see it every time. Like, it
you
actually
don't.
is counter effective. And he's right. For all James Cameron's faults, he's very, very, very good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Still.
Is this I missed it in here, but this is the fourth and last reference to a David Bowie thing that happened, because there's an explicit
so.
David Bowie reference in every episode up to and including this one, and then it sort of stops. And I thought it was going to be a thing through the whole thing. Like in Smile, it says, how are you feeling? I'm happy. Hope you're happy too. I can't remember what it was in Deep Breath. There was one last episode, and then I think there's a shot of Heroes, the album or something, in this. And everyone was thinking, oh, there's going to be a David Bowie thing in every episode. No, this is it. This is the end of it.
I gotta praise Capaldi because nobody does a smile that's both merciful and menacing at the
Right?
same time. I don't know how he does it.
I know.
Because he's a really good actor. That's how.
He's such a good actor. Such a good actor.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say neither of you have watched Ashes to Ashes yet. Am I correct?
No,
Nope, not
still
yet.
haven't. Still haven't. Sorry.
Thanks for bad fanning us there, Chris.
You know what it is? It's
Judgmental.
Given
It's-
how much both of you adore Life on Mars,
Yep.
it's just surprising. I guess maybe it's because you like Life on Mars.
Exactly.
It's simpler than that. It's daunting. It's 3 seasons, which makes me go,
8
that
episodes
sounds
a
like
season.
work. I don't care. That's not the point. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's just that volume makes you go, I can't do it, and it doesn't matter what it is.
And also, like, I felt, I know like a lot of people, many people, and I feel like I'm an outlier in this, think that that Godfather 2, ooh, that's gruesome. Godfather Part 2 is better than Part 1. I don't know if I'm in that camp. I think I really like the first one.
I'm not either. I think Godfather 2 is great, but it's not as good as the first one.
It's not as good as the first one. And I think I don't have any great fear about watching Ocean's 12 or 13, but Ocean's 11, like I'm talking about the Steven Soderbergh version, is such a perfect movie. Thinking, why would I want to diminish that by watching another version of it? And I'm thinking, you know what? Life on Mars was so good that even though people say that, like you, Chris, say Ash to Ash is probably even better.
And you're probably right.
I just like, man, I don't know. Like, I've never watched Better Call Saul. I thought like Breaking Bad ended.
Breaking Bad is far better in my opinion.
Okay, a lot of people are saying,
I watched all of Better Call Saul, and I
Right.
still vastly prefer Breaking Bad.
I've watched up to season 4 of Better Call Saul, but it takes me forever for this very same reason. It's just like, this is very daunting. I just can't put the time in.
You feel
even
like
though an hour is really, it's only a half hour, more than a half hour, but half hours I can just blaze through. I don't know why.
Godfather, I don't like the way the story is told for Godfather 2, so I prefer the first one, but I also really like Godfather 3. Like, a lot.
I'm with you, Chris. Godfather 3 has flaws, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it's made out to be.
Yeah.
Let's look at this amazing bit of makeup here.
This is great.
Eliza as an actual, for the most part, practically realized effect is quite impressive. Mm-hmm. This has got to be Neil Gorton's work here. Before he was, for some reason, ceremoniously left partway through Jodie Whittaker's first season. I don't know what happened there.
To wear that though, like, well, God only knows how much time in the makeup chair that took.
Like, I don't know where they are effects wise in augmenting practical effects, but I feel like most of this has got to be a practical effect given the constraints you are working with in TV. You know, especially British TV. But it looks so good. It's believable.
Yeah, it totally is.
You know?
Anyway, back to Godfather 3, Chris. I completely agree with you. Like, I think, like, basically the problem with that movie is that who became a far better director, Sofia Coppola, is not good in it because she got kind of thrown into it unfairly. Like,
it was Winona Ryder who was originally cast in that, right? And then
then she got thrown in at the last second, and you know, she's not an actor, and she's a really good director. So you know, it's not really her fault.
I mean,
But other than that, there's a lot of great scenes in it. The last hour is fantastic, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, and the whole helicopter thing with the
the opera stuff is really well put together. Like, it looks great because Gordon Willis shot it. Like,
the whole helicopter scene that was repeated in Star Trek Into Darkness, basically.
Yeah, boo.
We don't think about that. We don't mention that
no,
here.
We don't. No. But also Al Pacino for all his yelling nonsense, which started right around this time, and they keep pulling me back in. He is great in that movie. He is actually really good in Part 3. So, I mean, it's not a perfect film. Don't let me overhype it, but it's way better than it's made out to be.
It did get a Best Picture nomination, which is good because
and Andy Garcia is great too.
Yeah, because John Cazale's in a flashback in the movie, and Godfather Part 3 gets a Best Picture nomination. Thus, even though it's made 12 years after his death, he still fits the bill for every single movie he's been in.
That seems absolutely
gets a Best Picture nom. So, very creepy thing about having the revelation that.
What was the other one there? Was it Dog Day Afternoon? The bank robbery one?
Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon, The Godfathers, and The Deer Hunter were all movies.
I forgot it was a Deer Hunter.
Yeah. Yep, the bank robber movie. That bank robber movie you're mentioning is one of my favorite films of all time.
I don't care for it, but it's a very groundbreaking movie.
Yeah,
I have.
I can appreciate it for what it is.
Oh my God, Warren!
I know. I'm a terrible person.
Just like
I'm a cineast who has gaps.
What I love about Dog Day Afternoon is that you look at that today and you go, well, this is one of those little indie things that gets put on Netflix or something like that. But back then, it's starring Al Pacino, who's fresh off Godfathers, and it's also Sidney Lumet, and it's like, I think, the 4th highest grossing movie of 1975.
Here's the thing, though. It wouldn't get put on Netflix because it's good.
Zing. It's such a different time. Don't get me started in the new Hollywood era, which is my favorite movie era in history. But
I mean, I find it fascinating as hell. I just I don't think it existing writes off anything else.
No,
you seem to think.
it's such a fascinating. I mean, you know what? We just boy, Knock Knock has just flown right by, hasn't it?
I'm sorry.
I'm intrigued by where we're at now, just because corporate mergers seem to, like, everyone's bought, like, Warner Discovery and everything like this. Like, we're getting to the point where the studios are running everything again, and I'm wondering if there's going to be another time where that just completely...
It's been that since the 90s.
I know, but...
It's never changed.
No, well, then it did in the late 60s, where all the studios sort of collapsed and everything. Nobody knew what to do.
I'm saying, past
the
90s, you have had nothing but this. It was just different flavors. Transformers was Marvel.
No. What I'm getting at, Warren, is that I wonder if there's going to be a point where, like, corporate mergers and studios will, like, all of a sudden there'll be a big collapse again, and there'll be another sort of, like, you know, young upstarts sort of rule the industry again for 5 to 6 years, and until they wrest control of it back again. Who probably not.
My theory is that since kids have grown up more with games than with movies or TV, I think 20 years from now, 30 years from now, games will be the big deal, and that's where you'll see, like, and then TV, and then maybe you'll go back to movies and TV being less, because there'll be less money floating around for it, and studios will be too busy throwing $1 zillion at a game.
On that tangent, I watched the Uncharted movie not that long ago.
I heard it's terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's not good. As heist films go, I've seen worse.
It looked Netflix grade to me, which made me stop and say, no, I'm not watching this.
Very good performance from David Suchet here.
Yes, we're being unfairly ignorant of it.
It's a nice twist about how, you know, you think it's actually his mother, who has essentially been preserved in wood for 70 years. You know, and I feel like those are probably real tears coming from legendary actor David Suchet.
He also talks like he's from a kid's book from the 30s, which is kind of interesting.
It's a
Enid Blyton book or something.
One of the understated performance.
One of the most impressive things about the makeup job or the prosthetics job is she still looks like her.
Yeah.
And you're getting the emotion, even though she's got 10 tons of crap on top of her face.
This is why the practical effect. I mean, you know, what I like is, you know, wood shouldn't move anyway. You know, I'd feel like if you tried to CG a wood skin on her, so to speak, they'd feel like, well, we got to make it move somehow, because for some reason, you know, still like animated images feel like it's like something's wrong with it, as opposed to if you're to look at a still living person. You know, that's why whenever you have an animated person standing still, you can't just have them standing still. Otherwise, it just looks like a picture. But if you have a human standing still, it doesn't. Why is that? You know,
because they are moving infinitesimally, which you're used to seeing.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough to approximate, you know, still but moving when it comes to an actual CG, because you have to.
Better than it used to be.
Yeah, it is better. It is better. Don't get me wrong.
Like She-Hulk. I know you don't like She-Hulk, but just technically speaking, because I've made a point of watching it for this. I don't know about that. And other reasons. Okay, but when you see her face, I think they're mapping it so much, and the same with what's his name as the Hulk, that it is pretty close. But body-wise, there are dead giveaways. Like there's a thing where she's hauling some water bottles, and I'm like, that looks a little too elastic. That isn't quite there.
Yeah.
And that's me picking away at nitpicks. I don't really care.
Yeah,
it's a comic book show, whatever. But face-wise, I think Marvel, but you got to have the money Marvel has, or presumably the Avatar movies will have. Those will probably look spot on, because God only knows how much research James Cameron's put into these in the last 10 years.
Even then, they're pushing the limits a little too much on the timeline on. I mean, say what you will about fake Luke in Book of Boba Fett, but I thought it was creepily good, because they did little with young Luke. Like, they made him kind of a featureless person. They just like
eventually they're going to nail it. They're really close to what in fact, like I said, it probably is going to be Avatar 2 that nails it, if anybody does. And this is all technical. It doesn't make it a better or worse movie. It's just interesting from a technical point of view.
Which, you know what, so long David Suchet, not because he's dying in the scene here, but, you know, they'll just make up Jared Leto to look like he's 80 all the time,
Oh,
and then
gross.
and
Okay.
it's just
I
like,
agree with that. Stop putting handsome people in makeup.
that's
Just except for cases like this where it's a monster or something.
yeah.
Like if you're making the Penguin, and Colin Farrell is good as the Penguin in the Batman, but just give a real character actor that, damn it.
Exactly,
Give an ugly dude his
exactly.
chance. I speak for all us ugly dudes.
Yeah. Creepy. Bugs.
That is creepy.
I love the houses always blow up. Always blow up the house at the end.
Just to go back to
I
Lord
do
of the
wonder.
Rings, your
Sorry, I do
favorite.
wonder if this bit here. I wonder if this was like put in like, you know what? Maybe we should not kill all of Bill's friends and have them come back. It does
I bet
feel a
it was,
little
'cause
convenient.
the CG looks a little less slick there too.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, remember how they did the swarming programming to get all the armies going in
Oh,
Lord of the
yeah.
Rings, which doesn't look anywhere near as good now as it did then, by the way.
That's right. They put it.
I bet you the same techniques are being used for these bugs. Would
Yeah.
not surprise me one.
Yeah, yeah. Is it like Unreal Engine? Or is it literally like just a?
No. That's I can't remember the name of it, but it was
Yeah.
like a thing that basically randomized how these how to within parameters
Mm-hmm.
how an army would move. So this is probably the same thing.
Also,
I
they
could be
sa-
wrong about that. I'm just guessing.
Well, and they also saved a lot of money right there. You just saw the beginning of the destruction of that house, and then we just
Yeah,
kind of went
yeah.
with the reaction of everyone, and then we got back, and it's, oh, by the way, it's gone.
Yeah.
Better luck next time. And that's the last we see of Bill's friends. Oh, yeah,
here's
Matt
Nardo.
Lucas is in it. Yeah. Having been written half into the season halfway through, because I think Peter Capaldi thought he wanted someone else there. I think that's how Matt Lucas came to be. So basically, what we're watching here probably came about months after Knock Knock was, or maybe weeks after Knock Knock was
or even
originally
before.
shot.
Who knows?
No, not before. I think it was written in. You could tell he's written in from Extremis onwards. But obviously Mark Gatiss' episode was written before Anardle came in. And instead of trying to write him into it, I'll just have him run off in the TARDIS and it goes away.
True.
And we don't have to worry about it. So really, Matt Lucas is like, he's in this for very, very little of actual like, oh, Matt Lucas is part of the show. Because I think even in Oxygen, he's like, you could take him out and he wouldn't notice because he just sort of like borrows some of the lines that Bill would have been saying.
Remember how consumed we were by what was behind this vault? When, in retrospect, it was pretty obvious.
It's quite obviously it's Missy. Yep.
But we were all like, is it though? Is it? Who knows?
Yeah, we were more like second guessing it. Well, it's too obvious to be Missy, so it won't be Missy. And now it's Missy.
Did you just leave his tweed jacket there with the angels and the spaceship?
Like you notice that like Bill isn't even in this scene. Like that's how easy it was to shoot afterwards. Interesting. I want a writer's tale about the basically from 2014 to 2017 for Stephen Moffat. I'm sure he's got his emails archived somewhere.
That's when you know it's Missy.
Yeah.
Still my favorite master. I love Sacha Dhawan, but she's still the best as far as I'm concerned. The best mix of menace and lunacy.
Yeah.
And funny. Funnier than hell.
And
Oxygen's
matches
so good.
And yeah, it is a really good episode. Pretty sure we've had Jamie Matheson in the miniscope because of this, his
Chris,
third.
you're good at remembering these things, have we?
Yeah. Well, he's probably got it open.
I don't have the miniscope open now.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we've had Jamie in there or not.
I don't know either. I know he's in there, obviously, but I can't remember who you've
He is or
drawn
was
this one.
at the very,
Yeah.
very least, yeah.
I still love that they're not zombies.
Yeah.
They're just corpses kind of being pushed around by automated ship. But I keep wanting to say bodies, suits.
Suits. Yeah, it's the suits. Corporate suits. Literally corporate
Exactly.
suits.
Suits
Yeah.
ruin everything, as per usual.
Yeah. Bang on commentary. Boy, the credits come quick and fast. If this is hopefully in the future when it's on Disney Plus, maybe that'll be announced by the time this commentary comes out. They won't have to adhere to 30 seconds for credits, and they can go on for 2.5 minutes. We can have a full version of the Doctor Who theme every single credits. That'd be great.
RFS 682, March 31st, 2019. Jamie Matheson.
Wow.
There we go.
There it is. So there you go, folks. That was Knock Knock, but we mentioned about 2.5 minutes total, as per usual with our commentaries, it seems. But let's see, Chris. Let's see if we stay on topic during the next commentary, classic or modern. Remains to be seen. You got the randomizer open there.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
All right, then begin the spinning of it now.
All right, it is going. We have 95 entries still.
90. Oh, stories for years. Stories
entries.
for years. Even though
we have not added anything from like the Whitaker era, to be fair.
Oh, we haven't. That's right. We will next. We don't want to get too modern.
In time, I'm sure.
In time.
Whatever's outstanding there.
Yeah, soon come. Yeah. Well, let's see what we got here, Chris. Stop.
We're sticking with Capaldi.
What?
Got the lie of the land.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
There's some of your monk trilogy for you.
How is that a randomized thing?
Good bits to it, I guess. Anyway.
I enjoy the lie of the land. I'm sorry.
Directed by Wayne
No,
Yip.
I'm not going to apologize for that. I enjoy the lie of the land. Full stop.
Yeah,
You
by
shouldn't apologize for any of your choices.
directed by the Rings of Power's own Wayne Yip. So very interesting. Well, how about that? We move precisely 4 weeks ahead in our randomized journey through Doctor Who, and the Lie of the Land is the next one that we'll do on the modern series commentary. Excellent. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed our digressions into New Hollywood, The Godfather Part 3.
Also, I apologize for those. I can't help myself.
I know. Well, it's what we do. It's how we do these things, kids. So anyway, until next time, anyway, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.